Pause YouTube. This is SixftHax here. Happy you guys. Today, let's discuss number 4. And I have no hair, as you guys can see. Alright, so first off, I want you guys to please help me keep up with my haircuts. I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of getting them, but I don't like getting them. I don't, if you guys kind of get what I'm trying to say. So if you see my hair getting too long, or if you see my beard getting too scruffy, please let me know. Just comment down below. Be like, hey Leo, go get a haircut, please. I'll be like, all right, I'll work on it. So yeah, I'm here with number 4. Let's discuss. Now, I did just respond to all the comments for number 2. For those of you who may not know, the past last week, I was on vacation with my family, so I wasn't able to respond to let's discuss number 2 or let's discuss number 3. And I did just comment or reply to most of the comments on let's discuss number 2, which there are like maybe 2 or 3 that were really long that I still kind of want to read through and hopefully respond to. So if you get some responses from let's discuss number 3 while this is live, it's because I'm going to be going through let's discuss number 3 comments after this goes up, and this is already going to kind of be going up a little bit late on Wednesday, but I want to try and get this up regardless. But I really wanted to get through number 2 comments because I've had a busy day today, and I hope you guys do understand. So today's discussion topic is a very interesting one that I really didn't even think of, and that's, I think, like the beautiful thing about this is that's why I like it when you guys leave suggestions for future topics. Like let's discuss number 2 alone gave me like 2 or 3 great ideas to discuss, and I really hope you guys will like them. And this was one of them because originally I was going to do something different for number 4, but then this topic really intrigued me. So this topic is from Spygon. Now, it's not going to be like word for word as you see it on the title potentially, but it is going to be like a little bit of an aspect of it. So is it worth filling out every draft requirement, essentially? Of course, if you guys do enjoy the series, please make sure to hammer arm that thumbs up button down below. 1 like can definitely go a long way. And as always, after you listen to what I have to say about the topic, please let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, and I will try to respond to your comments, which I think I responded to most of them, honestly, because you guys have made good, compelling replies. And if you guys want to respond back to me after I respond, then by all means, please feel free to do so. That's another great thing about the series, so we can kind of like talk back and forth, and I can be more interactive with you guys in general. So as I said, is it worth filling out every requirement that you need in a draft? Now, essentially what I mean by that is that in a draft, and Spygon's point was, is it worth filling out your cores? And I'll be talking about that in a second, but that's an aspect of a draft requirement. Like, do you want to do all your cores? Do you want to have some hazard removal? Do you want to have this certain Pokemon that does this, this certain Pokemon that does that? Do you want to have all walls or some walls, some offense, a lot of offense, a lot of defense? You want momentum? You don't want momentum? You want a certain Pokemon type? And that's kind of what I want to talk about for this discussion video. So for me, a big thing about it when it comes to drafting, you guys are kind of going to get a little bit of an idea of how I draft myself. And I feel like I've done pretty well in drafts. I feel like for the most part, I think I've made playoffs in like every, I want to say I have. I think I've honestly made playoffs in like almost every league that I've been in that I upload. There's been like little side leagues where I just kind of BS around and I don't take too serious, so I'm not like going all out for that. But when it comes to like uploading, is when I really do like to try and put myself in there and like really go for it, essentially. So a big thing for me when it comes to drafting and trying to fill out these requirements, essentially, is that I always want to do my cores personally. Now, I've seen many people that don't draft Fire, Water, Grass or Fairy Steel Dragon. Another one is Fighting, Psychic, and Dark type, which is a very underrated core, honestly, but I feel like you always need to have a Psychic type. You don't always need a Fighting type, essentially, but it is nice to have. But a Psychic and a Dark type are always really nice to have there. But I've seen people who have drafted and they haven't filled out those cores. Like, I know, for example, it's Gregulator. He's not really a big fan of fire types. Like, he's even said it himself. He doesn't like to draft fire types. And I know other people like that. And then there's always the thing where, like, well, for steel types, arguably steel types are probably one of the top top 3 best types in Draft League format. So everybody wants to have a steel type, but once the good steel types go, there's not really much that you have to pick from when it comes to like tier 4 or 5. Arguably Fortress and Steelix are like the best tier 4 and 5 steel types. And even then, Fortress is the Fortress, it just kind of sits there and dies to an Ember. And then Steelix, yeah, it looks like it has good, I mean, I like Steelix, but arguably Steelix is probably the best tier 5 in general, honestly. But there's a lot of people that just would rather just not have Steelix and try to fill something else in its space. Spot? I was gonna say spas. Spos. Like spot and space together, but that's obviously not gonna work out. But yeah, for me, when it comes to drafting, I always 100%, I want to do my cores. I like to have fire, water, grass. I like to have fairy steel dragon, and I always want to have a psychic and or dark type. Fighting types are kind of up in the air. Like if I've drafted something that's part fighting from one of my other cores, then that obviously kind of fulfills that role. But a thing that Spygon did mention was that when it comes to trying to fulfill your roles, you try to take mons that you otherwise may not have taken before. For example, Turtonator, I've seen drafted before because it filled a core that they were missing. And I feel like this is where a draft kind of may like really hurt from. And I know I'm talking about cores, but I'm going to talk about the other stuff as well. But when it comes to the cores, I feel like you can have some leeway when you know you haven't taken the best mon of that type and then there's nothing of that type left, then you can hopefully try and figure something else to kind of fill that role. Now, for example, I think that there is at least 2, 3, 4 maybe types that you always 100% want to have. For example, for me, I always make sure to have a ground type and a dark type. I've been in matchups where my opponent did not have a dark type. Yeah, they had a steel type, but once the steel type dropped, I could just bring in a psychic mon and basically get free kills. And even then, they're still forced to bring in that steel type on the psychic mon. So if you have a coverage for it, then you just smack it, or you just slowly wear it down over time as they switch it in to take the psychic hits. So if you get hazards up, then they're taking even more damage. Now, ground types, I think, are definitely necessary because you never, I've said this before in draft analysis, you never, ever want to let your opponent who has access to Volt Switch, which normally like 8 out of 10 drafts always have at least one mon that can Volt Switch, and most of the time it's going to be a mon that has stab access to it. And you don't want to allow them to just freely come in, click Volt Switch, not only gain momentum, but put you in a very tough scenario that you literally have nothing that you can do against it. So if anything, I really feel like you need to have a dark and ground type when it comes to drafting. As for the versatility when it comes to like specially offensive mons, physically offensive mons, defensive mons, and offensive mons, yeah. But when it comes to stuff like that and hazard removal, of course, it's always a great idea to have at least 2 types of hazard removal. Now, arguably, you don't even need to ever bring hazard removal, but just the presence of the option that you have the hazard removal alone is something that can really help you out when it comes to matchups. Also, hazard setter mons, please, if you get anything from this video, please just at least draft 2 viable stealth rock Pokemon. I think you need at least 3. Like if you see any of my drafts, I always have at least 3 stealth rockers. Yeah, they're Pokemon that may most of the time want to run an offensive set, setup set, or a choice set. Regardless though, they have stealth rocks. Stealth rocks are such a huge factor in this game, honestly. Like rocks are probably the most important move in Pokemon in general. Since 4th gen, rocks have been valuable. Yeah, your opponent may have hazard removal, but still the turn that you take to get up rocks that you want to try and use when you have the possibility to, then they're going to be forced to remove the stealth rocks. So that means you can take advantage of that turn that they click defog or they click rapid spin, and then you could shift momentum back into your favor essentially. Please always draft Stealth Rock. Spikes and Toxic Spikes aren't as necessary as they were probably back in 6th gen because of the abundance of defoggers, but regardless, Stealth Rocks are absolutely huge. You need to draft Stealth Rocks. Please, just if you learn one thing again, just Stealth Rocks, please draft them, guys. I've seen drafts where people have like one Stealth Rocker and it's not even that good, and I'm just kind of like, oh, you need to change this, because like rocks are so important, guys. They really are. And as I said, like, hazard removal is not that important, so your opponent might not even bring hazard removal. Just the fact that you get a rocks means you're going to be punishing them every time they switch in and out. And then again, spikes and T-spikes are kind of nice, but you don't necessarily need them. Back to like the specially offensive mons and like defensive mons, I feel like a huge thing about drafts, this is already a little longer than I wanted it to be, apologies, but just I have so much to say about this topic, because again, you guys are kind of getting like an insight of like how I personally draft. I really love to get my cores, unless I have to like scrape the bottom of the barrel, like getting Turtonator, then I'll be like, okay, I don't need a fire type, I will be fine. I don't need a dragon type, it's okay. But I feel like you should try to fill your cores when it comes to not hurting your draft overall, if you guys get what I'm trying to say. There's also some kind of like miscellaneous type Pokemon that you don't necessarily always need for drafting, and this isn't like really going into the core aspect of this, although I have talked a bit about that because I feel like it is a huge part about it. But some types that you may not even always need, for example, are normal types, psychic types. Normal types, ghost types, arguably fighting types. There's not been many drafts where I was hurt if I didn't have a fighting type, but they do help if your opponents have like Miltank, Snorlax, Blissey, Chansey, and stuff like that. But for the most part, oh, excuse me, I just finished eating, I'm sorry. For the most part, psychic, no, why do I keep saying psychic? Ghost and normal types. Those are probably the two types that I never really ever prioritize. Like, if I don't get a ghost type, like, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. And then most normal types, I don't even really care for, honestly. Although a ghost type is nice if you do want to have like a draft that's based around hazards, essentially, because you can block Rapid Spin with that ghost type. Although defog is another option, but you should try and cover that as well. But ghost types and normal types, I think, are probably the two types that you don't necessarily always need to draft. I think that it's always a good idea to at least have one mon of the other types, even if certain things overlap. I don't think it's a good idea to have two cores in one. Essentially, like, if you get Megazord X, if you get Ferrothorn, and you get Tapu Fini, that's your Fire, Water, Grass core, and your Fairy Steel Dragon core in 3 mons. I personally don't like that. I don't think I would ever do that, honestly, because then at that point, you just make that core so easy to take advantage of. Like, yeah, you get more versatility for the rest of your mons, but I just feel like something like that is just would really hinder you in the long run. And then just being able to draft mons that are very versatile in general is what can make a draft really great. Now, there are a lot of people that would say having like a more defensive draft, and I'm one of those people, honestly, like having a more defensive draft, a more kind of like semi-stallish, like almost semi-stall level draft is probably the best way to go for drafting. But then of course there are those players that don't want to take that route. They don't want to just always bring walls. They want to have fun. They want to have, well no, because I don't want to say fun. I take that back. They want to be more offensive, essentially. They don't want to play defensively. They want to take advantage of those like hard-hitting mons. And when it comes to offensive mons in general, I feel like it's a good idea to have those mons that you know can run multiple different sets. For example, Entei. I really do not like Entei. I think Entei is one of the worst just one of the worst mons in general, honestly, in Draft League, because it just sacred fires and extreme speeds. It's all it does. Literally, okay, it can be scarfed, it can be banded, assault vest, I guess, but still, you know what it's going to do. Like, yeah, it gets Calm Mind, but its special attack is really not that great. And then in order to have access to E-Speed and or Sacred Fire, I think you need to be adamant. Or is it Flare Blitz? I think you need to be adamant for E-Speed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just I do not like Entei. I would never ever draft Entei, honestly. I would rather give up a fire type than have to draft Entei. Another mon that kind of feels the same thing as Entei is Darmanitan. Darmanitan is a very one-dimensional Pokemon. It comes in either U-turns or Flare Blitzes. That's all. It can be Banded, Expert Belt, Muscle Band, or Choice Band. Okay, but you always know it will be a physical attacker. Yeah, it gets Zen mode, which I guess is kind of cool, but there's not many instances, honestly, where your opponent's going to want to bring a Zen mode Darmanitan. So that's where versatility just really comes in handy. Even if you go a more defensive route when it comes to drafting a team, you still want to have your defensive mons be able to do more than one thing. And I'm going to mention something here. Like my current GBAD draft, you can see that it's a pretty bulky draft. But for example, Miltank and Cresselia almost always is expected as a defensive mons, but there's those matchups where it can run a lot of speed just because of how bulky it is. It can run offensive or just defensive calm mindsets in general, which makes it function as a setup sweeper. It could even potentially run sets that I've seen before was like Flame Orb or Psycho Shift. Like it can run those different sets. Even though it is a defensive mon, it still has multiple sets that it can run. Miltank, I honestly think Miltank is kind of underrated. Like I feel like it's looked past a lot, but it has base 100 speed. It's got a okay attack set in base 80, and it gets access to Curse as well, making it not only a really nice wall, but it can also be a pretty decent setup sweeper. Something that I kind of been wanting to try out is like Scarf Miltank in certain matchups, or just like a more offensive variant in general, because it gets Zap Zipper. Like Zap Zipper gives Miltank a free +1 in its attack, and then it can take advantage of that. And I feel like that's where a lot of people just kind of miss the point when it comes to like drafting certain teams. Like you want to have that versatility. You want to ensure that you're not just kind of being bland with what you pick. Essentially, like I'm not saying don't pick Darmanitan or don't pick Entei. Not all 11, well, typically all 11 of your mons need to be versatile, but for the most part you want to have a good majority of your mons to be versatile. And it's still okay if you have those like 2-3 mons maybe that kind of only do one thing, but it's okay that to do that one thing because you still have the surprise factor for the rest of your draft and stuff. This is almost like 20 minutes and I'm so sorry. But yeah, I feel like I've given my thought process well enough. Like if anything, it's good to try and fill your cores. I think when it comes to drafting, it's good to have versatility when it comes to your especially offensive mons, your physically offensive mons, those mixed mons as well. Choice Scarf mons always great as well to have, and it's good to have those defensive mons that can do more than just be defensive, because eventually you're going to be taken advantage of when it comes to those defensive mons. Like Alamomola, for example. I have Alamomola in D-League right now, and literally all I can do is be defensive for the most part. So that's where I think like creativity from the player or the person helping them comes into consideration, because I suppose Alamomola could run like some type of offensive set to maybe Calm Mind potentially. I don't know. I don't want to give anything away that I potentially come up with for future matches, but just it's good to be able to have that versatility option. Essentially, like you want to have hazard removal. I highly recommend always having at least 2 types of hazard removal, whether it be 2 defoggers or 2 rapid spinners. I think you always need to have a ground type and a dark type. Those 2 mons are 99.9, like 999% important. Like you can try and argue for not having a ground type because you can have something with electric immunity, like Volt Absorb or Lightning Rod. But I feel like trying to make an argument to not have a dark type is way more difficult, because again, you'll face a team with a psychic type that just comes in, sets up for free, and spams its psychic stab and just wins. So yeah, again, basically all in all, let's put a little ribbon on this thing. It's good to have versatility in your draft, and that's where having your cores really helps you out. But again, you don't have to go down that route essentially. So I am so sorry. This was like 20 minutes. These are probably never going to be this long again, but I had so much more to say about this topic than I had originally expected. I hope you guys did watch it all. If you did, please let me know what you think about this topic and some future topics that you maybe want me to talk about. And just, yeah, we'll be going through Let's Discuss comments number 3 as this probably renders and is uploaded. So if you're reading this and you get a comment from me, then just, hey, what's up? How's it going? Comment down below as well on this one. So yeah, again, I'm so sorry this was so long, guys. But yeah, hopefully y'all got a little bit of a mindset or a little bit of understanding of my mindset when it comes to drafting. So yeah, speed tiers are another like really huge thing. Really, okay, see this is like the little extra topic thing that only you who stuck through the entire video is going to understand, and it's a little special thing for you. So thank you, you're a real MVP. But speed tiers are really good to have. You don't want to have too much of a gap from your speed tiers, and you always want to have something that's very speedy, normally over like base 110 speed, just to kind of mess with how your opponents prep essentially. So hey, yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching, guys. Number 5 will not be this long, and I will see you all later.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6 foot hacks. 6 foot hacks, hacks. Yeah. 6 foot hacks, hacks. Yeah. 6 foot